So in this video, I'll be talking about feeling for the lymphatic pulse at the thoracic inlet. Times when this would be especially important to make sure that you can feel it moving on both sides pretty well is going to be when someone has an infectious process going on or some kind of a wound healing. That's going to be important to make sure that you can feel the lymphatics actually squeezing back into the venous circulation. So remember that you have the internal jugular vein and the subclavian, and where they meet together, that's called the annulus venosus here. And on the left, our thoracic duct is going to be dumping in right there. In about 15% of the population, the thoracic duct either doesn't insert on the left, but it inserts on the right, or it splits and it actually inserts on both sides. But for most people, it's going to be here on the left side only. As far as the right, we have various anatomy coming in, but it all does seem to kind of drain to this area here. So how I end up feeling for it is I position my fingers at like a 45-degree angle. So if you're thinking of that annulosus venosus and how the lymphatic duct is coming in kind of at a 45-degree angle or so, or inserting there, at least when I put my fingers like that, I feel like I'm best able to feel it. All right, so keys to successful palpation of this are going to make sure that we know where the clavicles are and that we are superior to them. His clavicular heads are right about here. So as far as where my fingers need to be, there's kind of an area that you can just sink into a little bit of the soft tissues up above the clavicle. So here's the spot on the left, and here's the spot on the right. And if I find his clavicular head, here it is there. So maybe 2.5 inches lateral on an adult male. All right, so I sink my fingers in. How much pressure? Well, when you're treating lymphatics, quite frequently, it's a very little amount of pressure. Some people say like the weight of a dime or a nickel. As far as feeling this, if you're only feather light, you may not feel it very well, because you really want to be able to feel that deeper circulation is being sucked back into the venous circulation, okay? So how does this feel? It feels pretty much the opposite of a vascular pulse, which is bounding out towards you. In this, it's like if you've ever stood on the beach and the wave comes in over your feet and then it sucks out and you feel that sand like sucking away from you. That's essentially what you should feel here. You should feel this sucking away from that fingertip that is pointed in at 45 degrees angles. All right. So when you're doing this, you might be feeling at first like, okay, I feel something, but is that their pulse or is that their breathing? So I could ask him to hold his breath for me, and sure enough, that's something that I feel is still there. So I could say, all right, you can breathe. And then as far as the pulse, the frequency of the lymphatic pulse is drastically different than your vascular pulse, but just to make sure, I could have him hold up his right hand for me so that I could get on that radial pulse. And sure enough, I feel that they are drastically different. Thank you. You can lower that down. All right, so what is the frequency of the lymphatic pulse? What are you kind of feeling for here? So in Bruno Cicli's book, Silent Waves, it's a very good book on lymphatic treatment, he mentions a rate of 7.5 to about 12 seconds that one lymphatic cycle should take. And he references some articles by Olszewski, who is a prolific publisher of research on the lymphatics. When looking into some of those articles, though, a lot of articles will be on non-human animals, but one in particular that he did was on humans in their leg. And in that article, he actually found that one cycle was about 8 to 10 seconds long. When you look at the other literature, though, you see that basically you've got numbers all over the place. Mostly isn't done in humans, but what they have found in animals in particular is that different areas of the body have different rates, and also it will alter their lymphatic output, kind of like cardiac output, based on fluid accumulated in the area and other factors that are going on. The sympathetic activity in the area, the exercise, other things like that can change the pulse. So in one particular article on sheep, they found 1 to 20 seconds was the variability in different areas of the body. So what I tend to find here is usually anywhere from about 6 seconds to 12 seconds. Every once in a while it's faster than 6 seconds, especially if someone is feeling very ill or has something going on with them. And obviously, as far as treatment-wise, you can make sure that you free up the thoracic inlet the way that you know how to, as far as a musculoskeletal, bony somatic dysfunctions, but then sometimes it's necessary to actually work more on the soft tissues and the fluid lymphatic components as well, and we can cover that in a different